Yep, there it is. Classic jewel cab. Bent chassis.
The clouds today are wild.
Welcome to well number 39. Kakapanu. Here's the well itself. There is actually a bit of water in there. It's protected by a roof rack. Once again, the well is in one of these clay pans in between the dunes with all of these melaleucas, I guess indicating that there is some water here. And just listen to the birds and the melaleucas here. Coming from the south, you come up over that dune and you can see this well in the foreground. And the first thing you see are these drums, these old fuel drums. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Well 39, the drum well. We are approaching the shores of Tobin Lake, and we have a mixture of very tall camelberries and desert oaks. I think these are the tallest camelberries that we've seen, and rocks.
And spinifex, of course.
Yes, the ubiquitous spinifex.
And sand.
Here's Lake Tobin. You know, this lake doesn't see a whole lot of water when it's got vegetation right throughout it and sand dunes in the middle of it.
This is coming out of Martu country now, and it's Nugarara we're heading into on the other side, I think.
Okay, you're definitely in the middle of this lake now. It is a clay base, isn't it?
Smooth.
It is. It's not even corrugated. That's a little bit better angle to do some filming on.
We're in the middle of a lake, if you can't tell.
Yes. Tobin Lake, not Lake Tobin.
It's a sand dune right in the middle, to our right.
There is. There were some termite mounds on the shores as well. And this is a proper lake. There are no trees anywhere out here. I don't think it would get all too deep. So smooth.
Yeah, I've been just sucking it in.
The track doesn't go perpendicular across the lake. It goes diagonally across it. Well, if there's any oncoming traffic, we should be able to spot them. We're coming to a sand dune in the middle of our lake. And there's bloody melon holes in it too. Unbelievable. Back on the lake. There's those termite mounds in the lake we were talking about.
We're running along the shore of the lake.
You know it doesn't see a lot of water when termite mounds are right there. Well, if you're looking to get a desert oak camp around Tobin Lake, it has to be done on the southern side, because on the northern shore, there ain't no desert oaks. Not that you can easily access them anyway. We were going to pull up for camp there, but made the mistake of crossing the lake and shafted ourselves. Here's something we didn't expect to find out here. An intact car, so to speak. ARB bull bar in good nick. Car itself, not so good. Somebody's pilfered the snorkel head. Yeah, the interior's pretty much smashed to bits, I'd say. Just looking at the way that tub is compared to the cab. Looks like it might have a broken back. Yep, there it is. Classic jewel cab. Bent chassis. No number plate on the back. I checked that. None on the front. I wonder what the story is here. Bullet holes in the side of the car. Entry wound on that side. The bash plate. And a turbo diesel motor. Well, there you go. If you're on the track, on the canning, and you own yourself a Triton, and you need an extra bit, there's a parts car here. Yeah, somebody has come to grief. We are at well 40. Let's go check out the well. And this is one thing we haven't seen a lot of here, is actual clay pans in this Gibson Desert or the Great Sandy Desert or the Little Sandy Desert. Whereas you go in the Simo and there are clay pans everywhere. This would have been the spot for the last remaining water. And you can see camel footprints all through there. And camel shit all around the perimeter of this hole. Bloody beasties shitting in their own nests. And at the end of the clay pan stands lonely well 40. A little bit of a depression in the ground, and there's not a whole lot more left of it. Only a few hundred meters from well 40 is Michael Tobin's grave. He was a member of Canning's survey party, and he was speared here at well 40 back in April of 1907. Unbelievable. So even when these guys were surveying this line, they knew that there were hostilities out here. So if you were a drover taking this on early on in the piece, boy, you'd be looking over your shoulders, wouldn't you? Far out.
You can see how the spinifex has blown in the wind and swept the ground underneath of it.
Pulling into well 41 now, which apparently has good water. And if that's the case, we're going to do some recommissioning. Looks pretty flash with a pulley and a bucket and everything. This is the old trough, but the well itself has been fully restored. Check this out. This is the first well that I think that I can remember anyway, with the windlass pole and that pulley. Now, I don't know whether I mentioned in previous videos, but this 20-liter bucket they didn't use to water the cattle. They had a big 200-liter kind of a sack, and they'd use the animals to haul that 200-liter sack up and fill the trough. But this well's been fully restored. The water is beautiful. It's tannin stained, but it tastes beautiful. No problem with it at all.
After the water. Terry's filling up the water bladder. It's just down a little bit and it's letting everything squiggle and jump in the back seat. This is hard to see because it's up into the sun, but the clouds look like skid mark smeared tartan something. It's very cool.
Have a look at these cloud formations that Jill pointed out. They got blurred edges. Very neat.
The clouds today are wild. There's the track we've just come from. In the distance, we're between well 41 and 42, and we're heading off north that way. This is what it looks like on the top of that dune. So a lot of the dunes and on the side of the dunes have pretty big trees on them. It's very neat.
Look at the sky now. It's turned into circle shapes.
Don't know. That's cool.
Probably for the last almost 200 kilometers, the track has been very similar to what you're seeing here. Going through very large swales in between the various dunes and corrugated track in between. This is what this whole section has been like. I'd say from like well 35, 34, 35 at least. And we're coming up to well 42 now. There you can see the track kind of shooting off to 11 o'clock, I guess, going over the next dune. And we still have that funky sky happening here. It is very cool. I'll tilt the camera up a bit more so we can get more sky.
Looks like we photoshopped it or something, but we haven't. It's really weird.
Yes.
Very picturesque.
We're keeping our fingers crossed for sunset tonight. We've got corrugations on the track and we've got corrugations in the sky. I wouldn't want to be on a 747 running through those things. Well, what do we got here? Trailer number 3 that the desert takes captive. That's a beautiful piece of checker plate. That'll end up rotting away out here. Wonder what happened. Axles are gone. Ready to drive anywhere. Don't know about that. Tool Pro toolbox. Oh, she could be a homemade jobby. She isn't that old though. You know, it hasn't been out here through a fire yet. A lot of good steel in that. Too bad I wasn't towing a trailer to take the trailer. So what is that, number 3 now that we've seen? 3 or 4 trailers out here dead. Still can't get over that sky and the clouds. Unreal. Okay, time to find a camp. That's a pretty cool view down there in the Spinifex Valley with the odd tree poking up.
And the melon hole track.
In the melon hole track, yes. The north side, north faces of all of these dunes have just been destroyed. South side's a little bit chewed up, but not like the north. Of course, the north side's steeper, so they are more difficult going in that direction. 10 past 3 and we're looking for camp still. Starting to get itchy.
More like bitchy.
That is tall Spinifex.
It is. Can't see far in front. Shining pretty in the light.
It is. Well, 42. And what have we got here? We got a pool of, I don't know, that's a cesspool. I'm not going to be taste testing that one. We got a few bones, and we got a lump of wood that was probably part of the well system. But that is it. This one is on the nose. It is stinky. Oh, hello, little birdies. They don't seem to mind the stinky water, but whoo, she's on the nose. This is the first well that we've had that's had a smell to it. And it's not nice. Somebody's left an old fuel tank here as well. What the hell? We are crossing Gooley Lake. And we're going to find a camp on the other side of this sucker somewhere because it is getting late. And
Terry's going to lose his marbles.
yeah, you have had enough driving.
Yeah, he's at the limit. Takes a lot of mental energy.
It does. You're concentrating the whole time.
I'm getting very thirsty.
Yes, getting very thirsty. Yeah. A little bit of a headache, thirsty. According to our map, we're not on it yet. We're just entering it.
We're skirting along the edge here.
Yeah. This is it. We're dropping into the lake now.
Gully Lake or Gully Lake. G-U-L-I. Gully is Gully's more fun to say. Yeah.
It is. Well, we've broken camp off of our Lake Gully camp, which was sort of a desperation camp because there was not a lot of camping around. And we were running out of daylight, running out of time. It was probably 3 o'clock when we pulled up, 3:30 even. We're heading towards well 43 now. We are hopeful that the track is going to throw something different at us today. For the past, well, basically since well 33, we've been running through these sand dunes and spinifex. And there hasn't been much difference between each day, as opposed to the southern side, which was a lot more varied. Threw up a lot more varied countryside and a lot more different things to look at. Now, we're not finished yet, but if we were going to make a call right now before we were finished, if you're only going to do half the track, I do the southern half over the northern half so far.
I wholeheartedly agree. The northern half has had a couple of stands of desert oaks, and those have been my favorite parts, but they haven't been huge stands, and they just haven't been suitable timing for us to have a camp at.
So we got our fingers crossed that we're going to get thrown something a little bit different today. This is day 16, and that camp 15 was last night on Lake Gully. So day 16, what do you got in store for us? Only positive things, please. No breakdowns.
No, and we only met 2 people yesterday in one vehicle together, Mike and Michelle, just, the very first thing in the morning, and we haven't seen or heard another soul since.
No, we haven't. I think I might have mentioned this before about, the traffic on the Canning. You read the Facebook pages and you think, oh, there's a shit ton of traffic. And it may very well be, but I think because the track is so long, 2,000 kilometers, that they're spread out. So it doesn't seem that busy out here.
Yeah, I think if you get unlucky in that you meet a couple of tag-along tours, then you're just unlucky.
Yeah, you are unlucky, absolutely.
You'd be trying to get away from them, either dropping back behind or getting in front. But they move along at a pretty good pace because they don't have a lot of time.
Yep, they've got an agenda, and they got a set schedule that they got to run to, which is understandable.
Yes.
Whereas we don't. So if we did have a tag along in front of us,
we'd just drop back.
Yeah, they'd pull them away from us for sure.
The couple we met yesterday morning said that there were 2 200 series Land Cruisers towing trailers behind them, but we think they must have turned around. I believe that Mike and Michelle said they were considering it, and we never came across them, so they obviously did, because they were only about a half day behind.
Yep, indeed. And they sounded like trailers that were the older style with a canvas top on them, maybe even homemade, I don't know. Leaf sprung, no shockies.
They're not built for out here.
Yeah, I don't know whether anything's really built for out here.
No, we also...
Your Patriot camper guys would argue, oh, ours are tough, you can tow them out here, but Jesus.
I wouldn't want to.
No, leave the camper behind.
Yeah, this is one of those trips you have enough to worry about as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Risk.
Why add additional risk? Why add additional worry?
Exactly.
You're out here to enjoy it, not to worry about things getting shaken apart. Here we go.
Oh, you were right, Tare. It's a track camel.
A track camel.
Oh, come on, guy, get off.
You're just gonna make it harder for yourself, dude.
Poor guy. They're so silly. So we're coming up to that 90-degree turn. Hopefully he goes off that way.
Yeah. Goes straight and we turn.
Yes. I hope so. They're so silly. They just have to step off. The emus do it too.
They do. Got an interesting gate that kind of goes left to right a little bit. All right, here's the turn.
Yep,
Yeah,
go. That's
nice
what I was
one.
hoping. That they just get on that straight thing. Bye, Guy. Wish you a good day.
We're running along a section at the moment that is heading due north. And it's as straight as a die for, it'd be probably 15 kilometers. Running along an old shot line by the looks of it. I was just saying to myself in my head, gee, it's changed direction. Maybe the corrugations will be a little bit less. Corrugation's a car length from the top of this sucker. Oh, a double humper. Cool.
Have a look. Very nice.
This dune here has got one of the steepest pinches that we've seen. Gonna have to take it with a bit of mambo. Welcome to Well 43, also known as Billowaggy, old trough and bucket. And I guess this hole here was the well. Not a whole heck of a lot left anymore. Just basically filled in. Well 43 is also on the edge of one of these little depressions. I guess you could call it a lake. All dried up now, of course, but I guess that was a really good indication for them that there was potential water around here, and maybe the water table reasonably close to the surface. There was also a native well located here, obviously long before the canning was ever built, and that probably helped these guys decide where they were going to sink it as well. There's the standard buckets that we've seen at every single well, and this is the first time that we've had one of this style, so it is different from all the other wells. Well 43, the different bucket well. Here's a double humper dumper. It's got a little gully in the middle, and then it goes up again, and then she drops back down again. This section of about, runs about 20 kilometers maybe, due north, has been awesome. It's been the funnest sand driving section on the whole track so far. This is another double humper. It mightn't look it, but we're actually in an elevated bowl between two crests of the dune. And once we get over top of this one in front of us, we'll go down the back side of the dune in its entirety. Some double humpers have very small bowls, other ones have great big massive bowls like this one. Well, we're just about to take the right-hander after that dead straight north-south run. That section between well 43 and 44 that runs at 0 degrees or 360 degrees was awesome. That was the best sand dune driving of the entire track. Now we take the run.
There won't be any corrugations.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're heading due east towards well number 44, in between the swales the whole way.
9.3 kilometers.
Hello, corrugations. We missed you. Welcome to well number 44. We got a couple of the original doors, we got some pipe work, and we've got the trough, which is pretty much filled in with sand now. And at the very end of the trough there is the bucket. This is one of the least obvious places to put a well, actually. There's nothing around here that really indicates any water. It's not about the well, it's about the track that got us here. The north-south section between 43 and 44 is fantastic. But the best sand driving so far on this track has been that section between 43 and 44. And that's what I'm going to remember well 44 for. 44.4. We're heading towards Gravity Lake at the moment, and we're in this sea of spinifex, golden spinifex.
In Pijalinga Clay Pan.
Yeah, we just left Pijalinga Clay Pan, heading for Gravity Lake. We run along in the swales of these dunes. Hopefully we get past all those scrapies now. And we're in this lovely, soft, tickly spinifex. You look at this stuff and you think, geez, I wouldn't have wanted to have been one of the first cars through here, because that would be slow going with all of these branches and stuff that you'd have to be getting out of the road, breaking off, cutting down. I think you'd want a beater of a car that you didn't really care about the paint job on it. We are between well 44 and 45 at the moment, and it's been like this for quite a bit. There's the Gravity Lakes off in the distance with some water in it. Cool. Well, that is kind of neat.
Yeah, it looks pink.
Bet you don't see that too often, hey? Well, what have we got here? No, it's not a well, it's a lake. Unlike so many other lakes out here in the desert, this one actually has some water in it. We're at Gravity Lake, and I'd suggest we're quite privileged to actually see some water in this as well. Unbelievable. It's pretty big. You know, I gotta taste this too. Fresh water. Beautiful. Man, this will sustain some animals for a while. You can tell that it's dry a lot of the time, because here's the old Canning Stock Route track. Cuts straight across the lake and runs up there past our trek into the bush. Very, very cool. Did not expect to see this, that's for sure.
When we first came toward it, it looked kind of pink, but it's definitely brown, like a terracotta brown or clay, something like that. It's really pretty. And there's the exit north.
Just leaving the Gravity Lake area now, and we are in a giant field of spinifex again.
With termite mounds.
With termite mounds, yeah, and it's roof-high spinifex too. That's tall stuff. Another lovely little growing over section. Not far from Gravity Lake on the north side, but really we could be anywhere within 30 or 40 kilometers of Gravity Lake, and it's been pretty much like this everywhere.
Picking up some hitchhikers. Oh, one of my hitchhikers got yeeted right off the side.
Well, number 45, with a beautiful ghost gum growing out of it. We got the old bucket, a couple of lids, a bit of trough, and a depression in the ground. And that is it for 45. I got two impressions on well 45. One is the crap track getting in here, terribly overgrown. And secondly, a ghost gum growing out of the well. Very cool.
Driving through rocks and rocks and rocks. Very uncomfortable. Here's what they look like. Not comfortable.
Just north of well number 45, we find this little gem. Poor bugger. It's got to be said though, doesn't it?
You bought a...
Yes, Michael. I bought a Jeep.
We're halfway between wells 45 and 46, approximately. Coming up to a large unnamed lake. It'll be interesting to see whether this lake has water in it. I feel like probably not. The odds are against it. Gravity Lake we saw was the exception to the rule out here.
And gravity pulls all the water to it.
Oh, okay.
I'm a thinking person.
You are a thinking woman. I'm an eating man. According to our map, through these trees, we are in the lake. Hallelujah. We are now driving in the water body.
Very scratchy water.
It is scratchy water, yes. Hard water, lots of calcium in it.
So much calcium it's turned to rock.
We are now out in the middle of the lake. And this looks much more lake-like to me, in a desert sort of fashion. Like, look at this.
Don't get bogged.
Well, stay on the track, stay on the track.
Very hard and firm underneath of us.
We are now at well number 46. And the closest I can get to it is with the drone. So I'll drop some drone footage in, because this entire well area is completely flooded out from the cyclone still. These scars in the track behind us are from that 200 series that was bogged. I think it took them about a day to get them out of here. That's nasty.
That is deep. Someone has slid off into that. Over on the other side too. Terry's got the drone up looking at well 46. He said there's a car tipped on its roof. Not recently, but people have come to grief here. Definitely. There are little moths flying everywhere in this bog area. I can hear the drone. That is not the moths making that noise.
Well 46, when we were here, she be flooded. Just leaving well 46, and this area is all being burnt out. Not before the rains. And then the rains have come, and it's made it super green and very lush. So the only thing we can see now are the green grasses and the tops of the termite mounds. And here's the section here where the fire front stopped. Left side unburnt, right side burnt.
Got a blue tongue lizard here. Stick your tongue out again, guy. Oh, there he goes. You're beautiful. Yeah, it's like a breathing, hissing sound.
Good morning, Jafffa Adventures. We are about 3 kilometers from well 47. As you can see from the sky, the weather is a little bit inclement, I guess, or potentially inclement. It's clouding in, and it's meant to get cloudier as time goes on. And in fact, there might even be a little bit of rain on the forecast over the next few days. Now, I know wherever you're and whenever you're watching this, it doesn't really matter to you, but what it does do is it shows the power of Starlink and the ability to have connectivity, because without that sort of comms, yeah, you could look up in the sky and say, I think it's going to rain, but you really don't have any certainty whether a front's coming in or not. So just another advantage of having that connectivity, especially if you're camped somewhere like out near boggy clay pans that would turn into goo if they got wet. Pretty much from well 33 now to 47, the countryside has been very similar to what you see in front of you now. There's been a few stands of desert oaks here and there around the big lakes. There's been a couple of rocky outcrops, but not that many. Welcome to well number 47. This little sucker is about 3.5 kilometers off the main track, so you got to take a little bit of a detour to get back here. And judging by how overgrown this is, I wouldn't say too many people actually bother doing the detour. We got ourselves a depression in the ground. We got ourselves a trough in reasonably good nick, just filled up with sand, and 2 buckets. Now, why does this well get 2 buckets? Maybe one was starting to rot out, so they replaced it when they did some refurbishments. Just looking around at the surrounding area, there is nothing to differentiate this site from anything else around you that might indicate that there's water here. 47 is the double bucket and triple termite mound well.